Meeples Top 10 of 2022. We have a few rules before we jump in, and that's just that the games needed to be independent games that were available in general retail in 2022.
Okay, I am up. It is Heat at number 10. We've done a review on this game. I would say Heat is a game that we enjoyed a lot more than I think we initially thought we would. But this is our first ever racing game, and there's a lot of replayability in this box. It can control up to 6 players, and it's just a generally fun game where you're moving around the track, you're playing your cars, and you have to manage overheating your car, spinning out into the corners, and just generally trying to pass your other player. I really enjoyed this one, and there's a lot in the box because there's like the beginner's guide, and then there's more of an expansive advanced mode and even a league mode where you're upgrading your car, adding different kind of parts to it.
Yeah, and what I really like is the fact that if you are right behind another player, you can slip ahead and not get left behind.
Yeah, one thing I like about this game too is I think you can almost gateway game this. I feel gamers will really enjoy this, but it's a Days of Wonder game. So like, for example, your family, they love
Ticket to Ride,
They
people.
love Ticket to Ride, but you know, in the past we've got them to be able to play 5 Tribes because that's a Days of Wonder little sticker on it, and I feel like we could get Heat to the table, and it handles up to 6. So this is even like a holiday. Like, let's bring it with
Absolutely.
us.
It's the family game. Number 9 is Capo Europe. This is a small 2-player game, which, you know, if you've watched any of our videos, is right up my and Matthias's heart and our alley. And here you have different cities throughout Europe that you can play, so you can have variation depending on the setup you choose. And you're really trying to steal goods and battling between other players to get to win favor in different cities.
Yeah, I love just the production of this is great. It's just a joy to open up the box. It's a joy to open up the box. The art is great throughout. The divider is great. It's just a kind of like a nice tactile 1 versus 1 game that doesn't overstay its welcome. This is the kind of game when you play it, you're like, oh, we're just gonna play a game tonight. After you've done the first game, you're like, let's just do another. So I think it's a really solid 2-player only game, and they put it in a reasonably sized box, which if you've been watching us for a while, you know is a big thing. Number 8 is Wingspan Asia. I was a little on the fence whether or not we should include this game, but I feel like it stands enough on its own for inclusion. This, it has a mode where you can run this up to, I think, 5 and 6 players, or 6 and 7 players. I don't want that. The sweet spot for this is this dual mode that it adds for 2 players, and I think for just a 2-player standalone game of Wingspan, this is worth owning.
Absolutely. This is a game where the duet mode is the reason to have this. For us anyway, it's not the fact that it is an expansion, and it will stay as a separate game for us outside of our general base Wingspan.
Yeah, so there was another great Stonemaier release this year, which was Viticulture World, and that's an expansion, but you need the base. So we didn't include that on our list, even though we both really enjoyed it. But if you own Wingspan, you can add in the other cards and just play this amongst 4 players, but also you can just play it in that 2-player duet mode.
Absolutely, and that's where it's staying for us. Coming in at number 7 is Planet Unknown. This is a really neat kind of map building polynomial game that has a rondelle for you to access your pieces, and then you're moving up a variety of corporation tracks to give you different powers and unlocking different things as you go. So the really neat part of this game is you kind of have to choose a strategy and run with that, so it changes every time you play based on the strategy you pick and the objective cards that you get.
Yeah, that is another game where the production is amazing, and I don't know if that like colors why, but it's, you know, it's board games, it's a tactile sport, so to speak. I want the production to be pretty good if I get it. But the one thing I like about this game is it's a mix mash of like a lot of different genres that I know that we like. We like polynomial, we like tech trees, we like unlocking bonuses. It's almost like a terraforming Mars, like a lighter, like kind of almost like Lacerda, where you're almost unlocking things all the time. You're driving your little trucks around, or your space rovers, you're collecting meteorites. You got lots of different bonus cards. You're always doing something, and you always feel like you're moving along the line. The box also includes like just a plethora of different boards that you're doing and corporations. There's a lot of game here. It's got that sexy plastic rondelle that just people walk by like, what is that? Even though it's just a hunk of plastic. Number 6 is Flamecraft. This game is pretty new, but we still played it a number of times, just 1 versus 1. We've also played this at group. The production quality is great. You get a rollout playmat to play your board on. The art is spectacular. There's little like latte puns and everything else inside. The gameplay is good too. I think the gameplay is elevated by the overall package. I think if this overall package package wasn't as good, I don't know if this make the top 10, but I think this overall experience just makes me happy, and that's, you know, half the reason we do this.
The attention to detail they put into this game with individual artwork, not just your standard clip art, but every card has attention to detail, and we've even house ruled that you have to say the different dragons' names as you're playing a card, so that there's that kind of button and you're bringing that theme to life within it, and they've done a great job with the mechanics working with the actual production.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of like Heat, where you can still play this with gamers, but you can also almost use this as a little bit of a gateway game, because I think people are going to see this art, the production, even just, you know, roll out that play mat, and they're going to like, all right, I'll give it a go.
Absolutely. It is a game for anybody. Coming at number 5 is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. Now this is a game where you are route building, and every round you're going to be clearing off your routes, except if you build villages, and then you have to rebuild those routes to access different things. So as much as the first few games you get kind of frustrated as your routes come off the board and all that work you put in and you're starting over again, but as you get better at this game, it's a really cool puzzle. And I find that the variation comes from the tiles that get flipped over when they come out, how you can connect your routes, and it just is a continuous mind puzzle and route building challenge for me.
So the art style and the general color scheme and in the cubes, it doesn't scream out like Flamecraft. The gameplay in there is, I think, nearly as good as anything we've played all year. It's just an interesting, as Lisa said, it's just an interesting puzzle every time, and it plays quickly. Like, you have your board set up. If you have your cubes, we put them in some X-tray dividers, so now we're just kind of just hand off and we're ready to play. But you're just flipping over cards and building out your routes. It is kind of multiplayer solitaire. There are those extra bonuses, so that's one thing I will say about it, but I think for this kind of game, I just want to explore my map and do my thing, and I somewhat pay attention to the other players because I don't want them to get in place before I do.
Fair enough, but let's be honest, in a route building game, I don't want them in my soup, so multiplayer solitaire is okay for me.
Number 4, the Wolves. This is a game that we don't normally play like area control games. There's area control here, but that's not the only thing that you do. You're flipping over terrain tiles to where you're moving your different wolves, and you're growing out your pack, and there's some confrontation, but it just feels right, if that makes any sense, within this game. It's not overdone, but when you do get to the confrontations, which is a little longer down once you've built up your engine, you're kind of ready for it.
That and the fact that the areas that score change. So even if one player has solid control of one area, the next area might be your area, and that's why you didn't score a lot of points that first time. It's because you were working in another area. So having that variation allows you to work on different areas and not just get annihilated from the start. Like some area control games, once you get boxed in, that can make for a long night.
It also, I think, has one of the better rule books of the year, and the art is great, and the Wolf Meeples are spectacular.
Coming in at number 3 is Golem. So Golem is a worker placement game where you are setting your golems to work, and they're gonna lie down, stand up, based on if they're resting or if you've activated them. You are drafting mobiles of different colors in order to be able to do different things. So there's just a lot going on. It is a little bit heavier of a game, and I just love how much you need to think and plan, and overall it's not that long of a game for its weight.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. This is off the top of my head, but I think you get like 12 turns in a game or something like that. So you don't have a lot of turns, but this becomes just another game where you're kind of chaining together a number of bonuses. You're moving your golems along, but there's a lot of variability in here. I find myself, there's an upgrade tree. I kind of do the same upgrades every game, but the way that the marbles come out, and also even just these extra bonuses you get for moving your golem down the chain, change up every game. It's almost like it's by a number of the guys on the team from Grand Austria Hotel, and I feel like it shares like a lot of that kind of like variability to design space, even in like within a smaller con.
Yeah, I think from a replayability standpoint, this is one of the games from 2022 that has the most replayability based on the variable setup, not just the variety of cards or the players that you play.
Yeah, and that's another game too where we're talking about production. I think production's done a really good job all the way around this year, but you get the cool little golem thing where you're rolling the marbles through, and it's just like, it's a nice aesthetically pleasing thing to do, and also just grab those marbles and put them.
And considering Grand Austria Hotel is our #1 game of all time, the fact that this has some similarities to it, it was a no-brainer that it was going to make our top 10 of 2022.
Number 2 is Ultimate Railroads. We were a little on the fence about putting this on the list in general because this is, I think, originally like almost like a 2014 game, but it's been out of print forever. So really, I almost view this as a 2022 release. This includes Russian Railroads and all the expansions, and it comes with a brand new expansion, which might be my favorite board for this entire series, which is Asian Railroads. This is, if you're into like mathing out your game and kind of optimizing your engine, like this is your jam. You want this.
Absolutely.
Because you're just kind of working your way through just your engines, you're building out the different tracks, you're just optimizing your math. It's just math heavy. If you don't like math, I don't know this is your full game. But if you are into it, this is like, I don't think it gets much better.
And if you play with people who may have a little bit AP, then it also might not be the game to play with that good.
No, but like I would say now we can hit one of these games out pretty quickly. Definitely under an hour.
And in addition, the game comes with its own divider. You had to build it. It took me a little bit to get it in there, but now all the pieces are organized, so it's a really quick setup. So coming in number 1 is Oak Nova. I know BGG says that it is a 2021, but it was not fully available in retail until 2022, which is why we have included it because of its availability. Now, let's be honest, who doesn't love the adorable artwork in this game? I just love the imagery. I love animals, so it works for me.
Yeah, and it's just an amazing game. Like you're building out your tech tree, you're building out your zoo. There's so many different things to do. There's so many variations. There's so many cards. There's just a ton going on. There's different zoos you can do. They're adding expansions to this. Like this is going to be a system that I think is going to continue to grow and we continue to add to, and this is going to become just like a core game for us.
Absolutely. This is one that's in the collection, and I'm excited to dive deeper and deeper into it, building out strategies and trying to figure out a way to beat this one. I have yet to do it in Oak Nova, but I tell you, it is a challenge that I see 2023 coming to me.
I see it happening. So that's our list for 2022. What are your favorite games of the year? Drop those in the comments, and also don't be afraid to subscribe.
Happy New Year!